Welcome back to Rod's Radios. It's been a while, at least over a month, since I've done any work on a radio. So this arrived in the post today. Now I know what it is, but I'm going to do an unboxing here and let you see it as I open it, because I don't know what it's like inside. I ordered it about a little over a week ago on eBay. It cost me the princely sum of €35. So I'm hoping it's going to be a bargain. Let's open it up and have a look. And here it is. It's a Siemens Klangmeister RG405 mains transistor radio, and it looks in pretty good nick. It's a little bit scruffy, but that doesn't matter, we can clean it up. However, there is one glaring problem here, and that is that both slider controls here, one is the volume, the other is the tone control, are missing completely. So they're going to have to be either repaired or hopefully replaced if I can get the same slider controls. That might be a problem. Other than that, it doesn't look too bad at all. There is on the top, you can't see it here, but someone has written in permanent marker the word Lesslich, L-E-S-S-L-I-C-H, which I think is the German word for lesser, but I'm not too sure. But that's a pity, because that might be difficult to get off, but not to worry. Other than that, the front of it looks pretty clean. It's a 4-band radio with VHF, medium, short and long wave. And I know that this radio comes from the year 1973 when it was manufactured. So it's 50 years old, and it happens to be the same year that I started working in Siemens. So that's a nice thing to have. Now, I know also that it is one of the last transistorized mains radios made with discrete components, after which Siemens started putting in integrated circuits. So that might be a bit of a novelty as well. So time to turn it around, take the back off and have a look inside. So this is what it looks like from the back. Now it's very dark in here, so I'm going to shine my torch in to give you a better view. And immediately I can see this bit of plastic loose in the back. This is actually the back plate for the dial drive, but that's not a problem. We can fit that back in. And other than that, it's very neat. It's on quite a small printed circuit board. As I say, this was the last of the discrete component radios they made, with the tuning control hanging up here separately on the left, and quite a nice size loudspeaker for this size radio over on the other side. Other than that, it looks complete. I was told this radio works all right, so I'm expecting it to work, apart from the problem with the volume and tone control. So the next thing is to take out the chassis, or maybe I'll switch it on just to see if it's working first before I have a look at the problem with the volume control. So on we go. Before I take the chassis out, let's see if this radio is actually working now. So I have it connected through the bulb limiter, just in case there's a short circuit. And I have it set for about 220 volts coming in. I can just about adjust the volume control by poking my finger along here. The tone control, however, I can't get at all. So switch on. And select VHF. Whoa!
You wake up, you go out.
Due to phenomenal demand, a third and final show.
Excellent. How about medium wave? I don't think I'll get very much on here. No. I'm in a garage at the moment, in my garage, so I never get very much on the medium wave band. In any case, there are no stations here in Ireland working on medium wave anymore. So the nearest you can get is something from the UK, which is well over 100 miles away. Shortwave? Any chance of shortwave? No. No shortwave. Long wave? Whoa. Again, very noisy here in the garage with various fluorescent lights and other forms of interference. However, the radio is working. This is good news. And now I can take it apart and have a look inside and see what I can do about these broken volume and tone controls. With the chassis out of the set, two additional problems became apparent. The printed circuit panel, when it was flexed only very slightly, the sound disappeared completely. And I traced it to a dry joint on the mains transformer. This is quite common because the mains transformer is a relatively heavy part on the PCB. It's only kept in place by these solder joints, and one of them had come away more or less completely and was just making intermittent contact. So that was an easy one. The second one, however, was a distorted sound that only became apparent when I turned up the volume. And I traced it to the loudspeaker. Now, problems with distortion in the loudspeaker are twofold. Either the cone has become distorted, or the voice coil at least has become distorted and is rubbing against the gap between the magnets, or there's a foreign body inside that's found its way into it. And this was the case because when I took the loudspeaker like this and tapped it, it dislodged whatever was down there, and connecting it back in, the sound was perfectly clear. So a result, because this was going to be difficult to get a loudspeaker to replace exactly the same shape and size as this. So that's one problem out of the way. The next one was to look at the problem with what I thought were the missing shafts of the pots, the volume control and the tone control. So let's just go in a little bit closer and have a look at this. And you may be able to see the volume control and the tone control actually have little shafts coming out of them, because that's not the whole story here. The way it works is these shafts make contact with a separate plastic piece that fits on like that, and then that piece is connected by a second piece which goes through the front panel. Here's the front panel where the volume control would be located, the slider, and the two black plastic pieces are on either side of this plastic slide, and the outer one is clipped into the inner one, but the outer one has a piece missing from it, and this is the actual shaft that makes contact with the button that's on the outside. So I'm going to have to figure out how to replace the shaft here. And the idea I've had is in contacting a colleague of mine in the Radio Society, who kindly promised to manufacture a shaft if I sent him the dimensions. So I'm going to do that. They're tiny. They're only about, 5 millimeters by about 2 millimeters and about 5 millimeters long. So this is what I'm going to do, and hopefully remanufacture these sliders in order to make the volume control and tone control accessible from the outside, that I can pop on some new knobs. And I've ordered some new knobs in the meantime from AliExpress. I'll show you what I mean. And here are two lots of knobs that I've ordered from AliExpress. I wasn't sure which one I was looking for in terms of the measurements, but they're pretty inexpensive, so it doesn't really matter. The only thing is I'll have to wait a few weeks for these to come in, because at the moment AliExpress still takes about 4 or 5 weeks to get items delivered from China to Ireland, but not to worry. And this is the dimension for the shaft that my friend is going to 3D print for me. I've made it 50 millimeters long to be on the safe side. I can cut it down to size when I get the knobs in from China to see how they're going to fit. So hopefully this will do the job. The next bit is going to be a little bit tricky, This is where I am going to try and fix the volume and tone controls that were broken. And this is one of the knobs that has arrived in the post after about 3.5 weeks from China, but it's here. And you may be able to see there is a little slot in the bottom. And to make it join up with the broken piece here, the shaft broke off this receiver, I have cut out a little bit of plastic like this. I hope you can see it. It's tiny, and I'm going to file it down to the correct size to fit into the knob initially, and then drill out a rectangular hole in the center of this receiver section and graft the plastic shaft onto that. Let's see what happens. Fingers crossed. And here's the result. I've glued the shaft into the receiver, as you can see here, with epoxy resin. I'm going to do the same for the second one and let it set overnight, after which I'll replace the sliders back into the fascia front panel. With the adhesive fixed, it's time to reassemble the bits. So the little sliders pop in here to the slots in the appropriate place, and then these two little clips hold them in place from the rear of the front panel. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll put the new, not the new, but the cleaned up metal grid across the front. The front panel has now been reassembled and the sliders are now in place, and they seem to be working perfectly. So all I have to do now is to marry it up with the chassis where the pots are located. However, I want to show you something first. I've mounted a block connector on the back of the chassis here in a convenient place to allow me to fix some LEDs. I've replaced what was the incandescent bulb on this because, well, I don't have one anyway, they're hard to get. And these are going to be far more reliable, 3 LEDs. But to do that, I had to modify the circuit slightly, and I'll show you what I did. This is the circuit diagram of the mains transformer showing the secondary feeding the 14 volt DC line to the rest of the radio, and separately a 7 volt AC feed to what was the dial bulb. Now I've changed that over and taken out some of the components, and now I have a diode connected directly to the transformer, across which is a capacitor to smooth it out, and I have a DC supply here of about 9 volts that is fed through the 3 LEDs, giving an appropriate current of about 10 milliamps through the LEDs, which is just what I want. Another reason why I've done this is because I want available a 9 volt DC feed to supply a module that I'm going to fit, a Bluetooth module, to make this radio even more useful than it was before. And this is the little circuit I've rigged up containing the Bluetooth module sitting up on the board at the back here. So I'm going to wire this into the radio and see how it works. And here's the final result. Let's try the radio first.
Listen, let's not take chances. Give him a little word in the ear, calm him down.
Note. You're allowed to come first, so I said camera, but Nova.
Then we back outside.
A Quebecois thing, or if there's a French-Canadian thing that's seeping in there as well? Yeah.
Is no great not only take a shamrock Canadian.
Nancy, so sexy, almost evil. Talk about butterflies.
Like there should be maybe a bit more time to adjust to the standard of senior.
So the radio is working really well. And now let's try the Bluetooth. And for that I select the FM button and the medium wave button in together at the same time. And I have some music here on the iPad. I hope it's not going to get caught up in copyright, but we'll try it anyway. So I'm really pleased with this result. It's come out quite well. And we have a nice Klangmeister RG405 radio working in pretty well perfect working order. So, if you have been, thanks for watching.